So hey everybody, welcome to the Printerverse. We're just waiting for the broadcast to kick in on Facebook. It's already live on YouTube. We're broadcasting all of our panels and events for 3 days, so people who are not fortunate enough to be in the audience here can still benefit from the knowledge exchange and community, then questions from you guys out there in the world, because we all need to help each other and work together to create great print. So
some of us are beyond help.
Yes, and then there's Dr. Joe, which is a whole other story.
Well, just wait till a good speaker gets here.
Right. Everyone who's here, I'm really sorry you're here for Dr. Joe. There's way better people later.
Much better. Where's that Frank Romano
Hey.
guy? Is he around or is he still on a train?
He's on the bus.
He's
So
on the-
Bias, we're gonna go.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
We're on Facebook. Okay, he'll figure it out.
We can be official now.
It's okay. The first one's always fun. Okay, everybody. Welcome to the Printerverse at Print 18, our first panel of the day of the show is always Dr. Joe when he's around and he'll agree to do it. I like to ask him to come and sort of set the tone for the technologies that would best suit all of you for the future to go out there and talk about or learn about or assess if it's right for your business and the direction that you're taking it. There's a lot of advice out there from a lot of different voices. I'm not even saying that Dr. Joe's the only voice to listen to, but he's He's a voice that a lot of people do listen to because
Yes.
it's mostly an unbiased voice, which is something I personally respect him for and is one of the reasons why I always invite him here. Dr. Joe's opinions are Dr. Joe's opinions. They're not paid for by anybody. He has
No.
partners,
No.
just like I have partners, but anything he says here is because it is his personal opinion, which I think is very important. So before we get into what the whole loose cannon thing is on your table tent, in case anybody out there does not know who Dr. Joe is, can you let them know a little bit about what you do for the industry? Oh, and by the way, I'm Deborah Korn. Welcome to the Printerverse, everybody.
Gosh, I'm in the industry 40 years. Can you tell by my hairline? I started in the industry with AGFA. Then some of you may remember a company called Chemco Photo Products. They made film too. And then film disappeared. But since, for the last 30 years, I've been a consultant in the industry. Are they?
Yeah.
Or are they having a problem listening?
No.
Okay,
it's just you.
That's what Mrs. Webb says that
Yeah.
I have a problem doing. Over the years, I worked, through the 90s, I worked with the vendors doing market research for them forecasting the market with a business called TrendWatch. I don't know if anybody remembers that business, which I sold in 2000. And then in 2003, I started to write for whattheythink.com. How many of you are whattheythink.com fans? Good. You missed my column? Because my last one was in June. So I'm in the process of retiring from that relationship. And
Retiring for like the last 7 years, I believe.
yeah, it's but this time it's almost serious.
Okay, we'll see.
So What They Think was a very good gig. Some of you remember Disrupting the Future, that book, This Point Forward, and last year's book that we had called The Third Wave, which had all the augmented reality stuff in it. We've had a very good experience at What They Think. And part of my editorial theme, as you know, was that it's very important to annoy the right people constantly. And that's my job.
I think that's why I gravitate to you, because we
Yes.
annoy the right people.
Yes. Okay, so
Okay, so excellent. So let's just start off with, if there are 3 things that nobody in this booth or nobody out there should leave this conversation without investigating in some way, what would it be for the future of their print business?
all right, you asked me that question last year. Did I answer it?
No.
No, exactly right. Because the answer is not what they should be doing. It's what are their customers doing, what are their customers going to be doing over the next years. That's how you decide on the kinds of things that you might do. And they're not always related to a specific technology. They're related to your understanding of the marketplace, the tools that you have at your disposal, and the needs that your clients have, even if they have trouble articulating them. It's your job to go find out what they are.
But aren't there trends that you can?
Oh, there are many trends.
Okay, so
Yes.
there are trends that they should look into, assuming that their customers might be interested in them.
See, I wrote notes.
Oh,
I wrote
excellent. He's
notes.
prepared.
Maybe. So there's a couple of things. On the media side, we're kind of in a little bit of a lull right now, but over the next few years, when you look at your phone, it says what, 4G LTE, right? 5G is on its way. That's going to radically change things. You're going to be able to download a full movie in like 6 or 7 seconds on 5G, where it takes you 6 or 7 minutes today. Now, I'm not talking about, oh, gee, everything's going to switch to movies. It's going to make the entire experience of digital media far different, much, much richer. And it's also going to mean that the dependence that people have on digital media is going to grow. So what does that mean for print media? Well, first thing is it has to tie in with all those other things, because the faster the speeds go, the more media is going to be published, the more need you're going to have to stick out. And also, the greater the need to be consistent across all different forms of media. So that's one of the things that you and your clients are going to be looking for. They're going to be needing to coordinate that. And the faster networks like 5G means the more analytics they're going to have. So they're going to need to be more responsive to what's going on in the marketplace. So all these things really gather together. And so what is this?
But how does a printer utilize that information for their business to create a product, a service, something that their customers that would tie them to their customers?
First of all, you got to be a lot more creative about things, and you have to be a lot more collaborative, in addition to being proactive. But those are all good code words, right? Here's what it means in terms of technology. While the technology curve or the uptake of technology is always interesting, the marketing of that technology, or the usefulness of that technology, is actually shorter than the technology life itself. So you have to be much, much more adept at picking up things. And in a capital-constrained industry, anybody know what capital-constrained means? You don't have enough money, right? So you can't invest in everything. So this is a strategy that requires a different look at the way we finance our companies and each other. In our book, Unsquaring the Wheel, I don't know if any of you have seen that marvelous book. It's available on Amazon. One of my co-authors, Wayne Peterson, is here. You can raise your hand, Wayne. Yes, he's a co-author there. He's along with Professor Chris Bondi from RIT. We have a much, much different look at what companies should be producing and the way they should be organizing their businesses. In addition to the marketing side, no one company has the capital necessary to provide everything that they need. So there's a great need for alliances between companies to produce what customers want, and because it's going to involve more creativity, more analytics, and those kinds of things that they're going to be using to adapt and get ahead of what their clients are looking for, you really do need to have relationships with people in all those different disciplines. That can be very hard to do because our industry was always taught, you buy a technology, it's yours, you're going to have the greatest margins producing things by yourself. And that was true, but what they weren't talking about then was the amount of risk in your business. And at that time, people didn't really think that there was much risk in making those kinds of things, those kinds of decisions, because they felt that you have a piece of equipment that has a certain level of output, we know we're going to sell it, and that's fine. But always behind that was the risk of specialization. And specialization is really, really key in a very dynamic marketplace, but you want to be adept at changing and adapting to the needs of the market. So if you have a loan supporting a piece of technology, and that loan lasts longer than the technology is valuable in the marketplace, what have you got? You got the loan, you don't have the ability to be in the marketplace in the right way. That mismatch is what killed so many printing companies in the late 2000s. And I believe we could be on the verge of another wave of that kind of situation. So companies should
that
be...
sounded a little Dr. Doomy. Was that a little Dr. Doomy?
Didn't it? But there's a solution.
Okay,
Companies
well,
should be...
Well, wait, there's a solution.
But wait, there's more, right? There's an ice crusher. The sharing of technologies of companies is important, especially if companies are in different marketplaces. Getting the most out of the technologies, just in terms of the time and the volume that goes through them. I'm not saying buy more. If you have the urge to buy 2 or 3 units and doing the same thing, you're probably better off running 2 or 3 shifts and obsoleting that stuff very, very quickly. So you have constant reinvestment in technology, as opposed to discrete purchases done years at a time. That's hard. So you can only do that by sharing your capital, sharing your people, sharing your knowledge. One way of doing it, we were taught for years, except in digital printing, buy the equipment, don't lease the equipment, because you buy it, you get the depreciation, at some point the loan gets paid off, right? And then you have this bigger margin. That's all an illusion. It doesn't really work. You're better off shifting the risk to somewhere else. And that often is the leasing company or the vendor, knowing that you're going to be turning over the technology at quicker pace than even they realize. So that additional margin that you get, that always looks fine when you do the calculations, but no vendor puts in what's the market risk in their assessment of what you're going to pay for equipment, because they don't know either, right? So that's very important to have in the back of your mind.
So what you're basically saying is the market can shift. Don't buy it, lease it, so you can upgrade or change or adapt to the technology and the needs of the customers.
Right.
As they become more aware of the printing technologies that are
or develop
available
a portfolio of products that you know that you'll be able to have some cutting edge business that you're in, but longer term business. Everybody looks at their businesses in terms of customers and needing a certain volume, but never where they are in like a media life cycle or media sophistication life cycle. You got to be much more adept at planning these kinds of things. So be careful what you purchase. As a way of demonstrating this, if you go into the profitability reports that the Commerce Department issues about our industry, they break out companies into 2 groups, those with $25 million or more in assets and those under $25 million in assets. Of course, all the big companies that we said, gee, I want to work for Donnelly, I want to work for this one, they are what great leaders in our industry, where we're so proud of them. If you look at those profit reports today, their profits are somewhere around 1.25% to 1.5% of sales. Their interest payments are 4.5%. So they are paying 3 times more in interest than they are actually making bottom line. Whereas the smaller businesses, who the banks were always turning down loans for, right? They could only lease things for. They would get turned down, that they were not eligible to have equipment financed. That prevented them from making bad purchase decisions. So what's their profit rate? 6.8, 7%. They're making so much more than the larger companies, and they're doing it with smaller quantities, more orders, and more every day, every week, digital printing. Digital printing has been the theme for a long time, but then you're now, what do we do with the digital printing in a marketplace that's going to have 5G technology and all this digital media? Developing products to drive more people to those kinds of media or develop relationships.
So I really want to get to the books and the stuff that you've been working on, but before that, a really almost sensitive subject, I'm going to say, is
well, I'm a sensitive man.
You are very sensitive, Dr. Joe. There's a really prevalent trend in talking about automation, and there's sort of a dirty little secret that goes with that, which is that some of this automation, which will make print shops more profitable, also could be a job killer. Personnel. So I just wonder what your thoughts are on that.
Well, it's bizarre.
It's bizarre
It's
that you
bizarre.
automate and you lose
So
humans. I mean, that's how it works.
Here you have an industry that in 1998 had 815,000, 815,000, no,
No,
815,000 workers,
Oh.
1998. Today we've got 425,000 workers without this automation that people are scared
Right.
of, right?
Yeah.
The marketplace changes those kinds of things. So if we have half the employees 20 years later that we had back then, we're scared of what automation is going to do with to our workforce. It's what the workforce does that's important, because the more and more things that you're doing for clients, the more profitable you are. The different kind of workforce in terms of their sophistication, their capabilities, are going to save individual companies. We shouldn't be looking at the industry as an aggregate, because this is probably the most diverse, interesting way of making money for different printing businesses that we've ever had. I mean, the old models of everybody does the same kind of thing and makes money and comes to the shows and brags about the equipment they just bought. I mean, those days are long gone. You go into all kinds of digital printing companies, everybody's doing something different. It's really interesting things that they're doing, and it's more on the creative side. The other, and that ripples through the rest of the business. The other thing is, the more tied in we are with creative professionals, graphic designers, marketing analytics, web developers, and the other, that's where jobs are shifting. So we
Right.
have to look at the total number of media creativity jobs,
Right.
as opposed to the more legacy things like publishing, like the newspaper business. I
Right.
mean,
Well, that's what I was
don't
kind
look
of
at that.
getting at. Like, you know, the automation gets rid of things that should be gotten rid of, and you can
Yes,
apply,
automation makes the entire
can-
organizations and the workers
Right.
get higher wages and be more
and
productive.
it also opens up the possibilities to hire different people with these more digital friendly skills to enable your customers to do more, or at the minimal to be able to speak their language. I find so many times that printers are so stuck in speaking printer language that they sort of, the people on the other receiving end who live in an omni-channel world almost can't compartmentalize the way that the print industry seems that they can. And enabling, if there's somebody whose job it is to move paper from here to there, and a robot can do it, and you can hire a graphic designer, then
Yep.
I don't think it's such a bad thing, but you know, it's a sensitive subject.
Well, for so long, there were, and it hasn't been for many years, there were print buyers who were very sophisticated in terms of their language of understanding what printers' jargon and printers' equipment and all that, because they had to. That's the way they were a buyer. But over the years, technology has really narrowed the variation in print quality and has moved the productive, creative production over to graphic designers and agencies and photographers and others. So it's demystified,
Yeah.
and it's more consistent. So it's like all printers look alike, right? We've heard this before, and that's only because the printers let themselves be that way.
I agree.
It's what you do for the clients that differentiates your
Right.
business and what you do. It's not the equipment that you have.
Right. All right, so before we get to your books, Jamie, any questions for Dr. Joe? Everybody, that's Jamie the printer. I import him every year from Allegra, New Jersey, Allegra, Princeton, to come here and sit here and listen to the panels and ask real printer questions, because he's a real printer. But you have no questions for Dr.
Let me
Joe?
see your fingernails. Where's the ink? I don't see any ink on those fingernails.
So let's
You must
talk
be a toner guy.
Let's talk about the books that you have up here, and
Oh,
we have
cool.
some books to give to the people out there. And
Oh, do you?
you've got,
Well, we got those-
yeah, we
those
got
5
those,
over there.
and we have to make sure to let people know what loose cannon meant.
Oh, that was funny. I'll do that one first, because
Okay.
How much time do we have?
You've got 10 minutes, Dr. Joe.
Oh gosh, we're gonna have to fill time. No, we won't.
Stretch,
Back when I did the
stretch.
trend watch business, I mean, I'm a data guy, okay? I've been involved in business-to-business market research for a long time, and my interest in economics and things came from planning and strategic planning and stuff like that. So when you're doing market research, one of the things that you're taught, or one of the things that you should do, and not enough people do come to think of it, is you let the data talk for itself, right? The data tells you things. You don't tell the data. You don't twist the data. The data describes the marketplace. You interpret it to explain it to folks. So there was a publishing company in our industry. They are no longer around.
Oh.
Because they didn't listen to Dr. Joe.
Listen to Dr. Joe.
But I was accused of being a loose cannon, and I had to go through explaining the data is what you should be using, not me. Let the data tell you. It's the same thing with all the marketing analytics that we have today, like the Google Analytics and those things. Let the data talk to you. But they accused me of manipulating the data to something I wanted.
Manipulating it?
Yes.
I don't think you manipulate it, but that's why they call you Dr. Doom, because
Yes.
you say exactly what the data says, and it
Yes.
doesn't always paint the picture of, oh, rah, 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 print
Yes.
industry. I mean,
Yes.
but it is rah, rah, rah for the inventive people who keep their minds open and keep it moving.
Yeah.
Keep it moving. Maybe that's going to be the theme this year. Just keep it moving. You know, there's this. This is the way things are done around here. Does not work anymore, and
Yeah.
it's because the customers are
Well,
speaking
there's,
that.
There's a generational thing. There's
Yes.
There's a generational thing that I'm going to make a generalization about. Gosh, it's early. I don't drink. This just happened.
Try the veal. Keep it moving.
If you got into the industry, let's say in sales after the year 2000, printing industry has not grown. In fact, it's down 50% since 2000. So you have a totally different outlook on the industry. You've had to go after every single job aggressively. You've had to learn more about the customers, learn more about the purpose than the predecessors, where everybody had to use print, so print was
Right.
easy. So now you have people who have been in the industry since that time who are now running companies, who don't take the use of print for granted, who realize that you have to do something special with nearly every job that has the client needs and their purposes and their long-term goals and objectives in mind. We never had managers
Right.
like that before, and they're just coming up into top management now.
Right? Yeah.
So that's one reason why, when you look at those data from the Census Bureau, the aggregate industry data is down, but all of a sudden we're seeing incredibly profitable small and medium-sized print businesses who are less concerned about volume and more concerned about doing interesting things for their clients and having long-term businesses where they're immersed in the technologies because they grew up with it. They grew up with computers at home. They grew up with cell phones that shrunk, and
Right.
they're used to doing things online, even in their own business, even in their own personal lives.
Right.
I can't tell you how many times, 10 years ago, when everybody in the industry hated me, but they all sold their businesses and they all retired, so I don't have it. There's no more people like that anymore, right? These folks have used it as in their daily lives. They understand it. Whereas in the past, those other people I said those bad things about, they were having people print out their emails for them, okay? Even the spam. Who knows what was on that desk
Right.
sometimes? Yes,
It's crazy.
it is crazy.
Okay, so let's wrap this up by sharing some of your work. And also, I know you've tried to retire like 7 times already.
No, it's not that, but it's
Is it?
serious. It's really serious.
You're really
now.
serious to
This
leave
might be
retired
my
now?
last show,
Okay, really?
unless you pay me to.
Well, Come on, Dr. Joe. Everyone's trying to make a buck in this booth, let me tell you.
All right.
Yeah.
Some things you're going to find at the show. Look for this magazine, Leading Print. This is from AP Tech, the sponsors of this organization. They have 3 very, very interesting profiles in here. One of which is John Buddington, who runs now a company called More Vang. Sorry, more Vang for your buck, I guess. No, More Vang. That's a sailing term. There's 3 profiles in here that they're told in first person, and it describes their business, how they changed it, the challenges they faced, and why they're doing so incredibly well. Another is Gina Danner, one of our best CEOs. She runs Next Page in Kansas City. Her profile in here talks about how the goal is to make money for your clients or help your clients make money, right? That's a theme that they have in their entire business, regardless of media. And the other one is Tom O'Brien, who does an incredible amount of specialty printing. So look for this. It's a brand new magazine coming from the association. You will you'll find those 3 profiles to be excellent. Another one, I'm on this cloud computing thing, and we wrote a book last year called Cloud Production, and was it A New Path to Profitability? Konica Minolta is distributing copies of this book. They're running some of them live on the show floor to demonstrate their finishing capabilities. But if you're interested about cloud computing, which is a critical technology for all this stuff that I was talking about, go get the free copies there. And we have I'm doing a workshop with Slava Appel and
He was
Vlad
just sitting
over
there, but he walked away, yeah. Slava's really cool.
Yeah. Of course.
Is that it?
I wouldn't
That's all
hang
you
around
got?
with
You got one
people
more?
who weren't cool. Okay, this one's good. I used to write books, and I used to work with Richard Romano, and I said, I'm retiring. I'm not writing with you anymore. So he has a book. It's called Beyond Paper. It's at the HP booth, okay? So look for this. It describes all kinds of specialty printing and applications that can be done with digital printing technology. But last year, you remember the theme of Third Wave? What we do when people came up to the booth for us to sign it? We said, have you heard the cover?
Have you heard the cover?
Because this book is loaded with augmented reality stuff.
Very cool.
And it's even got samples of some of the things that Richard writes about here. This is a very important thing for you to have if you're trying to reposition your business from a mainstream printing business, which is dying, to a innovative specialty business, which
Welcome
is
to
growing.
Print, everybody.
So that's a thing to do. So go to the HP booth there.
Awesome. Does anyone have any questions for Dr. Joe? Yes. Do we have a microphone, I'm sure?
Yes. You have to get one of those basketball
We have a second
microphones that
microphone
you throw
if
in.
we can
Oh,
get
there's a
some.
second microphone.
Yeah, we have 2 microphones. Okay, well, we'll figure out
that-
how to do the Oprah thing
There's a second
after.
microphone on the grassy knoll. So not many of you are
Yes,
old enough to
Jeff.
know what that was. Okay.
Turn it on for him?
I don't know if it's on. Can
Okay.
you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, my name's Jeff
Say-
My
yes.
name's Jeff Salisbury, CEO of Label Impressions.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi. You mentioned equipment obsolescence and restructuring your business. Have you seen the co-op model work well? Have you seen any of that where printers share a resource, do a revenue share where they all buy a press or a piece of equipment and sort of do a revenue share or a co-op?
That's kind of cool.
Well, that's one of the things we're talking about with alliances. You're
But how is that
sharing the
not a
risk.
trade printer, though?
That's a
Well,
good
where
point.
you'd get
Because a
the-
trade printer was independent and
Okay,
just sold
I'm
their
sorry
services.
I interjected on your question, but
Yes.
I didn't understand.
okay.
So
Yes.
please answer his question. I'm sorry.
It has not been done often in the industry, but we have the reality of capital constraint and technological change, and you have to pick your partners very, very well. So if you choose a couple of them and say, okay, we're all going to invest in this piece of equipment, and you're all going to have a particular share of our skill set internally with the people on staff, do that. But always have checkpoints to make sure everybody's happy with that and that it's working out. And don't be afraid to sell those services to people outside of that group, because that technology is going to go out of date quickly. You want to make sure that you have a hand in its obsolescence, as opposed to being a boat anchor on your business, right? But it is a critical thing. Now, we've done this on jobs. We're hiring this business to do this job for this client, whatever, but we've rarely done it on an investment, and that's where we have to be.
Does anyone else have a question for Dr. Joe? Howard, last question, and then we need to. Howard has a question.
Yes.
Last question,
and then the good speaker comes.
Yes, and then we need to wrap
yes.
it up and let. I
The-
see
the
the
good speaker
Patriot
comes.
is in the back there, so.
I'll give you a quick background.
gotta let my Brian
I came
Dollard
through the
up here.
typesetting
I'm
wars of
jonesing
the
for-
late 80s,
Yes.
90s, where we were buying $500,000 pieces of equipment to run $10 pieces of film for printers.
Yes.
How do we get the leasing companies to shorten their leases so the technology does not run out before the lease runs out? How do we negotiate this better?
Well, it's not their problem. It's your problem to say we need to lease that's this far, and then you have to say, you have to promise not to gasp when they say what that monthly cost is going to be. But that's the issue. If you're buying something that you know you're going to get 4 years out of, but they're only going to give you a 5, 6, 7, or 10 year lease, That's why the capital sharing comes in handy. So it's not just your business doing it. Then you can get the shorter lease for it.
Dr. Joe, thank you so much. I really hope that we do see you again, and maybe we'll all, pass a hat for you to bring you back next year.
That would be good. That would be good.
But
yeah.
your information is always awesome. You are my best Skype professor. Whenever I don't know anything, Dr.
Yeah.
Joe's always on my Skype. I'm like, what is the tax law, the new tax law reform? And I had to learn that. And Dr. Joe spent an hour with me teaching me. So
Yes.
I am forever indebted to everything that you've taught me and given back to the industry. And like I said, I hope we will still see you again, but if not, you deserve only happiness and best with
Thank you very, very much.
life, whatever you want. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Thank you.
We're just going to turn